Okay, Jesus Christ. Let's continue. Majority Report Fun Half. A caller calls in about Cuba and how it's basically a slow genocide because we are embargoing the people there. We're embargoing the people there. No food's getting in. They're starving. They don't have enough food. All their machines are old. They're from like the 1980s. We don't let stuff in. We don't let stuff out. We don't let new machines in. We don't let new technologies in. We don't let new repair things in. So we're basically we're doing what Israel is doing to Gaza is what America is doing to Cuba, basically. We're starving the country of Cuba because we don't like their government, even though their government is not a literal terrorist government. Like, even Hamas is more of a, Hamas is literally a terrorist government. Cuba is not a fucking terrorist government. We treat them like a terrorist government because they overthrew their America's favorite dictator, Batista, and they've been mad ever since. So let's watch the Majority Report.
Jody from Chicago said Dr. Phil was with Holman live streaming the ICE raids in Chicago.
By the way, I also have proof. I have proof to back up what I'm talking about. This is U.S. and Israel opposed entire world in UN vote to end the blockade in Cuba. So the only countries literally putting their dicks in our face are America and Israel. America and Israel are sticking their dicks in our face so we can't lift the embargo on Cuba. Just those two fucking militarized, genocidal piece of shit countries are doing all this. So think about that.
While JB Pritzker's hairline is staying strong for democracy in Illinois with these two bald cucks live stream. We do have that clip. Maybe we'll play it in a bit.
Hakeem Jeffries is saying, Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah.
I would have thought that the AIPAC plant would have been a bad leader for the Democratic Party.
Not great.
I wonder if we're going to turn the ship around or if it's just going to sink to the bottom.
Calling from a 201 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, is this me?
This is you.
Hey, my name is Danny, and I'm calling from across the river in New York City.
Danny!
Hi, Danny.
What up, Danny from New York City? Danny the hero calls in about Cuba. Let's listen in.
New York City. What's on your mind?
I want to talk about something, that was kind of buried in Trump's first hour of like 80 executive orders. Matt has actually brought it up a few times, but it's the issue of Cuba.
Right.
I'm Cuban American, and two, I'm also the co-chair of DSA's Cuba Solidarity Working Group, and we were working for like 6 months on a pressure campaign to try to get the Biden.
Bro, DSA has a Cuba Solidarity Group. I gotta join that. I gotta join that Cuba Solidarity Group because I joined the DSA. I'm part of the DSA. I'm just not in that Cuba Solidarity Group. I didn't know there was a Cuba Solidarity Group.
Right.
I'm Cuban American, and two, I'm also the co-chair of DSA's Cuba Solidarity Working Group, and we were working for like 6 months on a pressure campaign to try to get the Biden administration to do the right thing and delist Cuba from the U.S. State Department's state sponsors of terrorism list.
Yeah.
Right. He did that in the final few days.
Yeah, he did it 7 days before he left office, which is
what
like
a fucking loser, piece of shit asshole Biden is.
Way too little, way too late, of course. And Trump kind of immediately rescinded Biden's decision to do that. And, I think Cuba in general is an under-discussed in the realm when we're talking about U.S. empire. Cuba has been a target of U.S. empire since the revolution for over 60 years.
Yes. Preach, King, preach. Oh, my God. I got to hear this guy. I love it.
Just with the embargo, which, is ongoing, but especially with this use of the state sponsors of terror list to sort of cut them off completely from international trade. And it is directly contributing to the really dire humanitarian crisis and energy crisis that is manifesting on the island right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how we elevate the profile of Cuba and what's happening. It's sort of hard with all the other horrible stuff going on. But I think it's something that warrants more discussion, especially on the left, as like, an actively socialist country that is being actively repressed by, the dominant capitalist economic hegemon in the world. And I just wanted to get your thoughts. I know Matt has brought this up a few times, and I just like whatever we can do to raise the profile of this injustice and its decades-long oppression of Cuba's ability to develop as a socialist country. It's something that we really need to get a critical mass around and gather the left around as a critical issue, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, this is now the second time that a Democratic president has, right after leaving office, made this change. I think Obama's efforts to re-engage with Cuba were more sincere than Biden's. It's just that
100%.
Yes.
Or conscious.
And conscious, right. But more sincere and intentional.
Yeah, and actually like planned out to try to have some longevity.
Yeah. It's not just great.
Yeah, Joe Biden was literally a corpse, like a walking zombie, just like barely alive, barely doing things.
Yeah, and actually like planned out to try to have some longevity.
Yeah, it's not just Greg Kazar having somebody go steal his stationery so they can write it up and post it to the mail.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think we now can unequivocally say that Obama's foreign policy, even with his escalation in drone warfare, which was abhorrent, was a more well thought out and more diplomatic than Biden's, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, and the part of the problem is just like there was a group of Florida Democrats that, as soon as Biden did that, were yelling at him and criticizing him for
fucking losers. This is why Democrats keep fucking losing, because they're fucking anti-socialist, anti-communist, hateful pieces of shit that are stuck in the Soviet war era, the Soviet Cold War mentality. That was like the 1960s. We're in the 2025, and you're still in the fucking Cold War mindset? Are you fucking serious? These people, bro, they need a fucking aneurysm or something. They need, oh my god,
supporting terrorism.
They need a fucking what's that like medical procedure where they like lobotomies, bro? They need lobotomies. I'm sorry.
And there's a problem there.
Can we excommunicate those guys, by the way? I'm curious, like, does DSA like interact?
Yes, we need to excommunicate those people. Someone says in the chat right here, it says, Bad Lefty says, honestly, get Hassan an interview with the Cuban prez, or even just a 1 week visa to Cuba. For real, bro.
Act with the Florida DSA.
Like, need some good press over there.
Terrorism. And there's a yelling at Florida Democrats that, as soon as Biden did that, were yelling at him and criticizing him for supporting terrorism. And there's a problem there.
Can we excommunicate those guys, by the way? I'm curious, like, does DSA like interact with the Florida DSA? Like, what is going on?
It's basically been just completely abandoned.
We definitely have chapters in Florida, but yeah, like the Democratic Party, especially in Florida, is just like maybe the most egregious example of like the fecklessness and like willingness to capitulate to like BS.
Yeah,
right.
Like these big state Democratic parties typically aren't like, I don't like the California one. I'm not great of New York. I mean, New York, there's more DSA or socialist representation, but Florida just seems crazy.
I do wonder if Biden waited until after the election, because
of course.
Florida was like such a sink for Democrats, even more than anybody expected, that like, he figured, oh, well, Florida's lost. Now we can finally get around to doing the right thing here, because like that vote doesn't really matter anymore. But it's just like, it's very frustrating to get such a big win, which we considered it a win at the time, even though we knew that Trump, and especially with Rubio as Secretary of State, would probably do something to rescind it. I was shocked that it was just a flick of a pen and it was done. And it's just really frustrating not just for me as like somebody who has solidarity with Cuba, but for Cubans themselves. This is the second time that Trump has pulled the rug out from under any progress that we've managed to make with normalizing relations with Cuba. Like, he completely reversed all the Trump thaw stuff. I mean, the Obama thaw, the first time, and now this second time, we made a few feet of progress, and that's also been pulled out from under them. So the next 4 years are going to be especially rough, I think, for Cuba.
Yeah.
When it comes to like being under.
I think I really hope Cuba keeps their head down and just stays out of the news. I hope Trump forgets about them and just keeps. I don't know, man. I don't fucking know. There's nothing good that's gonna happen out of these 4 years. It's sad. A lot of people are gonna die and starve and fuck.
Few feet of progress, and that's also been pulled out from under them. So the next 4 years are going to be especially rough, I think, for Cuba. When it comes to like being under the boot of U.S. policy. I hope that they can navigate that, but it's really tough because what the SSOT, the State Sponsor of Terrorism designation, is designed to do is cut Cuba off from even importing or purchasing or doing business with countries anywhere else, because nobody wants to do business with Cuba if they risk getting sanctioned by the US, which has happened before.
It'd be nice if maybe this global trade tumult, other countries stop taking the American State Department direction on some of this stuff.
That's the thing that may come out of this with like Trump overreaching with with BRICS countries or like countries in the global south. Perhaps that increases.
You guys were talking earlier about how he's like inadvertently uniting Latin America.
Right.
And like, I think I really hope that the conversation around Cuba and the really terrible, like, you can call it a slow genocide, like that what's happening in Cuba, because
it is literally a slow genocide. It's no different than what Israel is doing to Gaza and what America is helping Israel do to Gaza. America's helping Israel literally do blockades and not let food in and not let aid in and not let water in and not let electricity in and not let journalists in to check out what crimes Israel has been doing and to verify things. And America's complicit in that. America knows that Israel's doing all these war crimes and starving people and killing people. But America knows, and America doesn't care because America's a superpower. So we're basically doing to Cuba the same thing America's doing to Gaza.
You can call it a slow genocide, like that what's happening in Cuba, because
Absolutely.
like they struggle to get basic things. And they have blackouts every single day, and like, sure, you can say the Cuban government should do X, Y, or Z, but at the end of the day, like, they're under the boot of the largest economic power ever known to man.
Exactly.
And it is
Literally, they're under the fucking empire's boot. They're under like Darth Vader's dick. It's crazy.
the largest economic power ever known to man.
Exactly.
And it is like really difficult for a small island nation, no matter how good or bad their government is, to do anything.
Well, it's remarkable they've
trying to operate under those conditions.
It's remarkable they've sustained it this far. It's just as remarkable that Castro 100%. Escaped how many damn assassination attempts? Like
600 plus.
Yeah. So appreciate the call, Danny.
No,
Thanks
they
so
are
much.
they are truly like a standout for the left, and we should defend them and like have them at the front of mind.
Absolutely.
Don't forget
Appreciate
about us
the call.
Cubans,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Don't forget about us
Thanks, guys.
Cubans out there. We're fighting every day.
Clay Donius says the Democratic Party in Indiana gives Florida Democrats a run for their money and fecklessness. A lot of horrible bills going through the legislature right now. All right, we will check that out.
What's the Run the Jewels? You guys know the Run the Jewels? The Run the Jewels logo? Oh, they go like this, bro. They go like this. Ah, that's cool.
Florida run for their money?
Indiana Democrats.
I mean, to be fair, I think maybe this is wrong. I think of Florida as a slightly less red state than Indiana, but I think red state Democratic parties are pretty much not great.
But Florida in our lifetime was in play. I mean, like 2000, obviously, it was the thing that hinged the presidential election on, and Gore most likely won that state. But it's completely rapidly. The difference, I think, is just that the Democrats completely just let it go in the Trump era and didn't even imagine, what a blue Florida going forward. It's just the fact that it's gotten so red so rapidly, and also the fact that the Democrats should have some built-in issue advantages with a population of a lot of retirees, which include they're the party that wants to protect Social Security and Medicare, and the Republicans want to gut it.
Yep.
On like the substance of it, the Democrats should be competitive in Florida.
Also, be able to fight that super easily. Just say they want to cut Social Security and Medicaid, and like old people will vote for Democrats. But Democrats are such fucking feckless losers. They're weak. They'll never win.
They're not.
It's a giant sinking ship for climate change too. So
yeah,
but maybe they haven't figured that out yet.
Ginger Punk, the Uvalde.
Oh, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Dan from Cuba or whatever. Dan the Cuban. Dan the Cuban. Yeah, we'll call you that. Dan the Cuban. Oh man, so awesome. Here's more evidence though. U.S. and Israel oppose world and a vote to end Cuba blockade. So the whole world voted. They were like, the whole world was like, yo, end this shit already, bro. Bro, it's been 70 years and you're still blockading this little country, this little island? Come on, bro. 2 people against. 100 people are for lifting the blockade. 2 people are against, and 1 country abstained. Who abstained? Oh, this little shithole country, whatever that is. What is that, Greece or some shit? Anyways, but there's America and Israel over here. This little tiny shithole. Little tiny genocidal shithole right here. This little genocidal shithole keeps blocking UN resolutions to lift the Cuban embargo. So yeah, there's that. Let's move on. Here's more evidence right here. So this was the vote. The world has condemned yet again the U.S. embargo on Cuba. So the UN General Assembly has overwhelmingly voted to condemn the 6-decade-old U.S. embargo on Cuba. Out of 191 member states, 187 supported the resolution, with only the U.S. and Israel opposing it and 1 abstaining. So thank you so much, Israel, you genocidal sack of shit country. Jesus Christ.
The greatest country in the world. All of the countries are at my little girl's Cuba, number 1 exporters of sugar. All of the countries have inferior sugar. Cuba, home of famous cigar. It's started by capitalists all around the world. Cuba, Cuba, a very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana. Cuba, friend of all except America. They're very nosy people.